I'm Robert, 35M, and I've been married to Sarah, 32F, for 3 years. We've been together for 6 years total. Sarah has a daughter, Emma, 16F, from her previous marriage. Emma's father, Jack, 38M, left Sarah when Emma was 2 years old and hasn't been involved in her life since. I grew up in a small town with parents who owned a local diner. From a young age, I was fascinated by baking and would spend hours in the kitchen with my mom, learning her recipes and techniques. After high school, I went to culinary school, specializing in pastry arts. It was my dream to open my own bakery someday. Sarah's story is quite different. She comes from a wealthy family but chose to become a teacher because she wanted to make a difference in children's lives. She met Jack in college, and they got married right after graduation when Sarah found out she was pregnant with Emma. Jack, however, wasn't ready for the responsibility of being a father and husband. He left when Emma was just 2 years old, leaving Sarah to raise their daughter alone. When I first met Sarah, it was actually at my bakery. She came in to order a cake for Emma's 10th birthday. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our love for food and our shared experiences of growing up in small towns. We started dating soon after, and I was introduced to Emma a few months into our relationship. At first, Emma seemed indifferent to me. She was polite but distant, which I understood. I tried to build a relationship with her, often inviting her to help me in the bakery or asking about her interests, but she always kept her distance. As time went on, however, Emma's behavior towards me got worse. It started with small things. She would forget to pass on messages from me to Sarah, or she would make plans for her and Sarah on days when we had already planned to do something as a family. Then it escalated to more direct actions. She started making rude comments about my appearance or my job, saying things like, "Mom, why are you dating someone who just bakes for a living? Don't you want someone more successful?" There was one incident that really stands out in my memory. It was about 2 years into my relationship with Sarah, and I had planned a special dinner to celebrate our anniversary. I had spent days preparing, cooking all of Sarah's favorite dishes. When we sat down to eat, Emma came home unexpectedly. She was supposed to be at a friend's house, and threw a tantrum. She knocked over the table, spilling food everywhere, and screamed that she hated me and wished I would leave them alone. Sarah always tried to mediate between us, but nothing seemed to work. We went to family counseling for a while, but Emma refused to participate properly, often sitting in silence or giving one-word answers. I almost broke up with Sarah after that dinner incident, feeling like I was causing more harm than good by being in their lives. But I loved Sarah too much to let her go, and I hoped that with time, Emma would come around. As for my bakery, it's been my pride and joy for the past 10 years. I started small, just me and a tiny storefront, but over the years, I've built it into a successful business. We're known in town for our creative cake designs and our commitment to using local, organic ingredients. I've put everything into making it successful, countless late nights, reinvesting every penny of profit for years, even taking out a second mortgage on my house at one point to buy new equipment. Sarah has been incredibly supportive of my business. She often helps out on weekends or during her summer breaks from teaching. She's even learned to decorate cakes and has become quite skilled at it. I had hoped that this shared interest might help bridge the gap between me and Emma, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case. The real trouble started about 6 months ago. Emma had been getting worse in her behavior towards me, and Sarah and I were at our wits' end. We had tried everything, talking to her, grounding her, taking away privileges, but nothing seemed to work. Emma would promise to do better, but within days, she'd be back to her old behavior. One particularly bad week, Emma had gotten suspended from school for fighting. Sarah and I had a long talk with her, trying to understand what was going on. Emma broke down crying, saying she felt like she didn't fit in anywhere, not at school, not at home. She said she missed how things used to be before I came into their lives. A few days after this conversation, I came home to find Emma in tears again. She told me that some kids at school had been bullying her, calling her names and excluding her from their group. She said she was sorry for how she had treated me, that she had been taking out her frustrations on me because she didn't know how else to cope. She said she wanted to make amends and asked if she could start helping out at the bakery after school. I was hesitant at first. Emma had never shown any interest in the bakery before, and given our history, I was worried this might be some kind of trick. But Sarah convinced me to give her a chance. She pointed out that this could be an opportunity for Emma and me to bond, and maybe working together would help improve our relationship. For the first few weeks, everything seemed to be going well. Emma was polite and helpful at the bakery. She seemed to enjoy learning about baking, and she was particularly good at decorating cupcakes. She even started talking to me more at home, asking about my day and sharing stories from school. Sarah was thrilled, thinking we had finally turned a corner in our relationship. Then, strange things started happening at the bakery. It began with small things, a batch of cookies that didn't rise properly, a cake that came out lopsided. I didn't think much of it at first, assuming it was just normal kitchen mishaps. But then customers began complaining about finding hair in their baked goods. Some reported feeling ill after eating our products. Our health inspection scores started dropping. I couldn't understand what was going on. We had always maintained the highest standards of cleanliness and quality. I retrained all my staff on food safety protocols, double-checked all our ingredients, even had our equipment professionally cleaned and inspected. But the problems continued. Our reputation in the community started to suffer. We lost several large wedding cake orders, and our daily sales dropped significantly. I was stressed and confused, trying desperately to figure out what was going wrong. After weeks of this, I decided to install cameras in the bakery. I told my staff it was for general security purposes, but really, I wanted to see if I could catch whatever was causing these problems. What I saw on the footage shocked me to my core. The camera showed Emma deliberately contaminating the food. She was putting hair, dirt, and even small amounts of cleaning products into the batter and frosting. She would mess with the oven temperatures when no one was looking, causing baked goods to come out wrong. In one particularly disturbing clip, I saw her spit into a bowl of cake batter before mixing it. I was devastated. Not only had Emma betrayed my trust, but she had also put my livelihood and the health of our customers at risk. I couldn't believe that after everything, she would do something like this. I confronted Emma with the evidence, and she broke down. She admitted that she had been sabotaging the bakery all along. She said she wanted to ruin my business so that Sarah would leave me and they could go back to how things were before I came into their lives. She said she thought if I lost the bakery, I wouldn't be able to support them anymore and would have to leave. I was too upset to even respond. I called Sarah and asked her to come home immediately. When she arrived, I showed her the video footage. Sarah was shocked and heartbroken. She tried to talk to Emma, to understand why she would do this, but Emma just kept repeating that she wanted things to go back to how they were before. After a long, emotional discussion, Sarah and I both agreed that Emma couldn't live with us anymore. We arranged for her to stay with Sarah's parents temporarily while we figured out what to do long term. Emma begged and pleaded to stay, promising she would change, but I couldn't trust her anymore. The damage she had done was too severe, both to my business and to our family. Sarah was devastated by the decision. She cried for hours after Emma left, questioning where she had gone wrong as a mother. I tried to comfort her, but I was struggling with my own feelings of betrayal and anger. Now, Sarah's family is calling us heartless for kicking Emma out. They say we should give her another chance and that she's just a troubled teenager who needs help. But I can't risk my business or my peace of mind anymore. The bakery is still struggling, and I'm not sure if we'll be able to recover from this. Sarah is torn between her love for her daughter and her commitment to our marriage. She agrees that what Emma did was terrible, but she's also feeling guilty about sending her away. I'm trying to be supportive, but it's hard when I'm dealing with my own feelings of betrayal and the stress of trying to save my business. Ida for not allowing Emma to live with us after what she did? Should we give her another chance, or have we done the right thing by sending her away? Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone for their support and advice on my original post. The past 2 weeks have been incredibly challenging, and I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. After Emma went to stay with Sarah's parents, we had to make some difficult decisions. We decided to press charges for the damage she caused to the bakery. It wasn't an easy choice, but given the severity of what she had done, not just the property damage, but the potential harm to customers, we felt it was necessary. We met with a lawyer who specializes in juvenile cases, and he advised us on how to proceed. The police took our statements and the video evidence. They also interviewed our employees and some of the customers who had complained about contaminated food. Based on all this evidence, Emma was arrested. Because of her age, she was processed through the juvenile justice system. The juvenile court process has been difficult for everyone involved. Emma was charged with multiple counts of food tampering and property damage. She's been assigned a court-appointed lawyer, and the case is ongoing. The prosecutor has talked about the possibility of Emma being tried as an adult due to the premeditated nature of her actions and the potential harm to public health. This possibility has added another layer of stress to an already tense situation. Sarah has been struggling with depression since all of this happened. She blames herself for not seeing the signs earlier and for not being able to help Emma. She's started seeing a therapist to work through her feelings of guilt and grief. I've been trying to support her as best I can, but it's been tough. There are days when she can barely get out of bed, and I feel helpless watching her suffer. We've had to temporarily close the bakery while we deal with the legal issues and try to rebuild our reputation. The financial strain has been significant. We're burning through our savings, and I've had to let go of most of my employees. I'm not sure if we'll be able to recover fully. The local news picked up the story, and now everyone in town knows what happened. Some people have been supportive, but others are angry, feeling like we've betrayed the community's trust. In a surprising turn of events, Emma's biological father, Jack, has suddenly reappeared. He found out about the situation through a mutual friend and reached out to Sarah. This is the first time we've heard from him in over 14 years. Jack claims that he wants to help and that he feels responsible for Emma's behavior because he wasn't there for her growing up. He says he's turned his life around, he's married now, has 2 young kids, and runs a successful construction business in a city about 3 hours from us. He's offered to take Emma in and pay for her therapy and any legal fees. Sarah is torn about Jack's sudden reappearance. On one hand, she's angry at him for showing up now after all these years of absence. She feels like he abandoned them when things were tough and is only showing up now because it's convenient for him. On the other hand, she's desperate for any help with Emma. She wonders if having her biological father in her life might be what Emma needs to turn things around. I'm deeply skeptical of Jack's sudden reappearance and his motives. It seems too convenient that he shows up right when things are at their worst. I'm worried that he might be trying to manipulate the situation somehow, maybe to ease his own guilt or to get back into Sarah's life. I've tried to voice these concerns to Sarah, but she accuses me of being paranoid and says we should be grateful for any help we can get. To complicate matters further, Emma's lawyer has suggested that having Jack involved might help Emma's case. He thinks that if we can show the court that Emma has a stable home environment to go to, it might lead to a more lenient sentence. Sarah and I have been arguing about whether to accept Jack's help. She thinks we should give him a chance for Emma's sake, but I'm not comfortable with the idea. I feel like we've already been through enough, and involving Jack might just complicate things further. These arguments have been putting additional strain on our marriage, which is already fragile from everything else that's happened. To add to all of this, we've been receiving threats and hate mail from people in the community who found out about what happened at the bakery. Some people are angry that we pressed charges against Emma, calling us cruel for not giving her another chance. They say we're bad parents for giving up on our child. Others are furious about the food tampering and are threatening to sue us. We've had to change our phone number and delete our social media accounts to escape the constant harassment. The stress is taking a toll on both of us. Sarah is considering taking a leave of absence from her teaching job to deal with everything. Her principal has been understanding, but I know Sarah feels guilty about leaving her students in the middle of the school year. I'm trying to figure out how to salvage my business and our reputation, but it feels like an uphill battle. I've been in talks with my landlord about the bakery space. Even if we manage to reopen, I'm not sure we can afford the rent anymore. I'm considering selling off the equipment to pay off some of our debts, but the thought of giving up on my dream is heartbreaking. We're both at our breaking point. Our savings are dwindling, our marriage is strained, and we're facing legal battles on multiple fronts. I feel like no matter what decision we make, it's going to be the wrong one. If we accept Jack's help, we're opening ourselves up to potential manipulation and more drama. If we don't, we're possibly denying Emma the help she needs and putting more strain on our already fragile finances. I'm lost and don't know what to do. The life we've built together is crumbling around us, and I'm not sure how to fix it. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Update 2: I want to thank everyone again for their support and advice. The past 2 months have been a whirlwind of events, and I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. After much debate and consideration, Sarah and I decided to cautiously accept Jack's offer of help with Emma. We set clear boundaries and expectations, including regular updates on Emma's progress and the understanding that this arrangement could be terminated if we felt it wasn't in Emma's best interest. Jack agreed to all of our terms. Jack took Emma to live with him and his family. He enrolled her in an intensive therapy program and transferred her to a new school. At first, things seemed to be going well. Emma was reportedly making progress in therapy, and Jack was keeping us updated regularly. He sent us photos of Emma with his wife and kids, all smiling and seeming happy. Emma even called us a few times, sounding more like her old self than she had in years. However, about a month into this arrangement, we discovered some disturbing information. A private investigator friend of mine offered to do some digging into Jack's background as a favor to us. What he found was shocking and completely contradicted the picture Jack had painted of his life. It turns out that Jack had been in and out of jail for the past decade for various fraud and embezzlement charges. He had multiple aliases and had been involved in several get-rich-quick schemes that left investors penniless. His construction business was a front for money laundering, and he was currently under investigation by the FBI. Even more disturbing, Jack wasn't actually married, and the woman and children in the photos he sent us were actors he had hired to create a fake family. The house Emma was staying in was a short-term rental, not Jack's permanent home as he had claimed. When we confronted Jack with this information, he broke down and admitted the truth. He confessed that he was in serious debt to some dangerous people. He had hoped to use Emma's situation to gain access to our finances and potentially scam us out of money. His plan was to convince us to invest in his fake construction business, promising high returns that would never materialize. We immediately called the police and Child Protective Services. Emma was removed from Jack's care and placed in temporary foster care while we sorted everything out. Jack was arrested for fraud, kidnapping, since he had taken Emma under false pretenses, and violating his parole from previous convictions. As for Emma, this betrayal by her biological father seemed to be a wake-up call for her. When we were finally able to see her and talk to her, she broke down and told us everything. It turns out that she had been in contact with Jack for months before all of this happened. He had reached out to her on social media, pretending to be a changed man who wanted to reconnect with his daughter. Jack had been manipulating Emma, feeding her lies about me and promising her a better life if she could get rid of me. He convinced her that I was the only thing standing between her and a perfect family reunion with her parents. Emma admitted that she never intended for things to go as far as they did with the bakery. She said she just wanted to cause some minor problems at first, hoping it would create tension between Sarah and me. But things spiraled out of control, and she didn't know how to stop. Emma expressed genuine remorse for her actions and asked for another chance. She said that seeing Jack's true colors made her realize how much she had taken for granted with us. She apologized for all the pain she had caused and said she wanted to make things right if we'd let her. Sarah and I are conflicted. On one hand, we're relieved to finally understand the root of Emma's behavior and to know that she was being manipulated by Jack. It explains a lot of her actions and attitudes over the past few months. On the other hand, the damage she caused was significant, and it's hard to trust her again. The bakery is still closed, we're in serious financial trouble, and our reputations in the community have been severely damaged. We're currently in family therapy, trying to work through all of these issues. It's a slow process, and there are still a lot of raw emotions on all sides. Emma is still in foster care for now, but we're working with social services to determine the best path forward. The legal case against Emma has been complicated by the revelation of Jack's involvement. Her lawyer is arguing that she was coerced and manipulated by an adult, which could potentially reduce her charges. We're working with the prosecutor to figure out the best path forward that balances justice with Emma's need for rehabilitation. As for Jack, he's facing multiple federal charges for his various frauds, as well as charges related to his manipulation of Emma. He's likely looking at significant prison time. We've cut all contact with him, and Emma has expressed no desire to have him in her life ever again. The bakery is still closed, and I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to reopen it. The financial and emotional toll of everything has been enormous. I've been doing some freelance baking work to try to make ends meet, but it's nowhere near enough to cover our mounting debts. Sarah has returned to teaching, but her performance is suffering due to the stress of our situation. We're taking things one day at a time, but the future is still uncertain. We're trying to rebuild our family, but it's a long and difficult process. There are good days and bad days. Some days, it feels like we're making progress, and other days it feels like we're right back where we started. I'll update again when there are more developments. Thank you all for your continued support and advice through this difficult time. Update 3. It's been half a year since my last update, and a lot has changed. I wanted to share where things stand now. After months of intense family therapy and individual counseling for Emma, we made the difficult decision to allow her to move back in with us on a probationary basis. It wasn't an easy choice, and we had many long discussions about it. We set up strict rules and expectations, including continued therapy, regular check-ins with her probation officer, and a zero-tolerance policy for any deceitful behavior. Emma has shown significant improvement. She's been consistently attending therapy, doing well in school, and has even started volunteering at a local animal shelter. Her therapist says she's made great strides in dealing with her abandonment issues and learning healthier ways to express her emotions. She's made amends to many of the people she hurt, including writing apology letters to our former bakery customers. As for the legal situation, due to Jack's involvement and Emma's cooperation and improvement, the charges against her were reduced. She's on probation and doing community service, but thankfully avoided any jail time. She's required to continue therapy and meet regularly with a probation officer, but so far, she's been complying with all the terms. Jack, on the other hand, is serving time for his various frauds and for his role in manipulating Emma. He was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. We've cut all contact with him, and Emma has expressed no desire to have him in her life ever again. She's been working through her feelings about him in therapy, which has been a difficult but necessary process. The bakery, unfortunately, couldn't be saved. The damage to its reputation was too severe, and the financial losses were too great to recover from. It was heartbreaking to let it go, but I've had to accept that it's part of moving forward. We sold off the equipment to pay some of our debts, and I've been slowly saying goodbye to that chapter of my life. I've since found a job as a pastry chef at a local restaurant. It's not the same as having my own business, but it allows me to still do what I love. The owner knows about my situation and has been incredibly supportive. There's even talk of me potentially taking over the bakery side of the restaurant's operations in the future. Sarah has returned to teaching full-time. It was rough at first, dealing with the gossip and judgment from colleagues and parents, but she's persevered. She's even started a support group for parents of troubled teens, which has been healing for her. Our financial situation is still tight, but we're slowly rebuilding. We've had to downsize our home and make a lot of lifestyle changes, but we're managing. The community has started to come around, with some of our former customers reaching out to offer support and understanding. Our relationship as a family is still a work in progress. There are good days and bad days. Trust is being rebuilt slowly, and we're all learning to communicate better. Emma has shown genuine remorse and is working hard to prove herself, which has gone a long way in healing our relationships. There are still moments of doubt and fear. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, worried that this is all temporary and that things will fall apart again. But then I see how hard Emma is trying, how committed Sarah is to making this work, and I feel hopeful. We're not a perfect family, and we probably never will be. But we're committed to working through our issues together. The road ahead is still long, but for the first time in a long time, I feel cautiously optimistic about our future.